Back again to Chimelong's Ocean Kingdom, where they keep raising the bar. The Award of Achievement for Live Show goes to Chimelong Ocean Kingdom's Journey of Lights Parade. Creative staging and production, the lands of Ocean Kingdom are celebrated with 8 parade units, 2 carts, and 1 wagon, supported by 75 performers in a 35-minute color-changing illuminated show, all set to an original soundtrack. The finale to a day at Ocean Kingdom combines the highest level of visual imagination and the design with theatrical flair and showmanship at virtually every level. Please welcome partner and creative director Ryan Miziker, who will introduce his team. Ryan, come on up. And you've got your team.
Thanks, Roberta. It was actually 3 years ago that I had a meeting here at this very event with Chris Ho. And Chris came to us at Miziker Entertainment and he said, we want to do a parade and we want to do something special. And there are really 2 things that we want to do. We want to take the characters that are featured at Chimelong and also at Ocean Kingdom and put them into the lands and stories of the park. And we want to do something that has never been done before. And that was the challenge, and we were happy to accept it. And we immediately got to work. And on behalf of Chimelong, the project lead producer was Charlotte He. And on behalf of Miziker Entertainment, our project director was Chung. I'd like to bring them up to the stage now. Come on, guys. So here we are 3 years later, and I'll let you guys take it away.
I would like to thank the TEA for providing an opportunity for us to share our experience on this project. We are feeling extremely honored to be here. And there were so many topics that we want to talk about, but unfortunately, we only have half an hour.
Hey, everyone. So it's kind of awkward, because when we practiced, Ryan wasn't standing behind me the whole time. Not a big issue, but he may not have seen the presentation yet. So if you guys could do me a huge favor, just keep an eye on him, and if his face starts to like scowl, just give me one of these, and I'll just I'll wrap it up and I'll move on to the next thing. Okay? Cool. So for everyone else, this is the Journey of Lights.
Chimelong Ocean Kingdom and Miziker Entertainment are proud to present the Journey of Lights Parade. The Journey of Lights Parade takes guests on an epic night of adventure through 8 magical scenes in this spectacular moving show of 1,000,000 dazzling lights synchronized to an original musical score. We'll join Ocean Genie on a magical flight soaring high over the sea in his noodle box, lifted by dozens of color-changing balloons.
Magical things are happening. Watch!
An exciting color change whips through the parade, creating the first parade-wide event of sparkling white lights shimmering along the entire parade route. He's followed by juggling clowns, high-flying trapeze artists, and even the ringmaster himself, all gathered under the glow of the circus lights. Candy dancers mix sweet treats in their candy carts ahead of Candyland's celebration, a gigantic mixing machine that pulses with colored lights and perfect synchronization with the sweet soundtrack as the cake is magically decorated with animated patterns of light. As the music changes again, we enter the world of the night jungle, with Chimelong's very own Kiki flying high in the parrot plane over flowers blossoming with light. A rainstorm arrives, with flashes of lightning and the sound of thunder, before the flowers bloom again with thousands of brightly colored lights. What puts this parade at the forefront of technological innovation is the breakthrough, first-of-its-kind, parade-wide event, in which every light from start to finish, including costumes and kinetic figures, magically transforms in perfect unison, perfectly synchronized to the rhythm of a musical motif created for this special moment. This never-before-possible piece of show magic is achieved by crafting every float, costume, and kinetic figure with individually addressable RGB LED lights. This visionary innovation relies on a staggering 868 DMX universes, all programmed to maximize the performance impact and thrill audiences each night. Each of the 8 scenes is a show in itself, set to an original 90-second musical composition composed to seamlessly integrate with the overall theme. The fun and drama of each scene builds to an exciting climax as the parade moves through Ocean Kingdom. A trio of pirates make their way through the jolly seas to the tune of a rousing sea shanty. But beware, as they unleash a full broadside as CO2 cannons blast the crowd. As the music changes again, the entire ship and sails are transformed, and the pirates are revealed to be skeletons. Mermaids invite us into the deep seas, where we encounter a colossal anglerfish reading an undersea adventure book to a colorful school of fish. Glowing moray patterns transform the entire scene into a spectacular undersea dream. Up ahead, guests encounter the beautiful polar lights, surrounded by adorable dancing penguins. In another parade first, 12 specially outfitted optical lasers create an amazing must-see aurora borealis effect high overhead. In a grand finale, the adventure rises on a distant tropical island where the party is in full swing. Chimelong's Kaka the Tiger leads the way as the tribal drumming builds to a fiery blast, accented by bursts of real flames from the top of an epic 30-foot-tall volcano.
我觉得是那个蛋糕王国，我感觉它非常的绚丽多彩，然后互动也比较的多。
好好看的那个水母，太喜欢了。
我觉得那个海盗船比较有意思，因为海盗船上的海盗他们跳舞跳得很活泼。
火山有看到，就那个真正的火，很有身临其境的感觉，很特别。喜欢。
This incredible parade combines breakthrough technology and a heavy dose of under-the-hood show control systems to deliver a seamless, beautiful, and memorable nighttime show that performs nightly to the delight of thousands of happy park guests. Come join us for a night of adventure here at Chimelong's Hung-Chin Ocean Kingdom every night in the spectacular Journey of Lights Parade.
The Journey of Lights Parade is actually a pioneer in China. It is the first night parade in mainland China.
And the first parade in the world with fully synchronized RGB lights on all the costumes and floats.
In Chinese, there is a special phrase describing being the pioneer. We call it the first person who eats the crab. 第一个吃螃蟹的人. So why is the crab? I guess it is because the crab represents something full of unknown, maybe dangerous, but it is worth trying because it's so tasty. And now you understand how important it is for Chinese people to enjoy good food. And the parade crab is actually really delicious, but it is not easy to handle at all. Being the first in China brings a lot of difficulties to us, because most of our vendors are Chinese local vendors. They are very experienced in day parade, but as you know, night parade is fundamentally different. So night parade is just like a new chapter to our vendors.
So let me take you back. I've just spent months putting together these super detailed 3D models. Every little piece of hardware has been placed in 3D space. The chassis has been integrated. I've done these extensive route studies. The chassis is the car it sits on, right? So I know exactly how these things are going to look. I head over to China. I've got everything on this USB stick. Go to my local vendor. I say, here, load this up in your 3D software, and let's talk about how to build this. He says, great. But hey, first I want to show you something we're working on. I go, all right, your guys will load that up. We'll go to your shop. He's already started building our floats. Those are full-scale clay models. He had the same thing in steel, welded together, and I was just sitting there going, ah. He comes up to me and he says, here, here, here. And he hands me this package of paper. It's covered in like dirt, some tea stains. There's like highlighter all over it. And it's our concept package from 3 or 4 months ago, from that one meeting we had with them. And I said, did you start building this? And he's just got this huge smile on his face. And I'm going, oh crap, nothing's gonna fit. Nothing was gonna fit. So what do? They're halfway through production. Back in the States, I've got chassis being built to 3D drawings that aren't gonna work anymore. I've ordered tons of hardware. Okay, here's what we did. Instead of thinking about the floats like these giant cars moving down the road, we said, okay, they're really more like stages. Like you lay a stage on its back, and that's kind of what we got. It's a whole self-contained scene. So we went to a staging company in the States to give us these special modular segments of truss. And what we did with them is we sat them down with the chassis vendors, and we said, okay, we're gonna build this truss to fit your chassis. Done. Make the truss, air freight that over to China, take that to my vendors and say, you must make whatever you're doing out of clay and bubble gum and God knows what else, that has to fit on this piece of metal. And the guy goes, great, no problem. And that's how we stuck scenic made in China to chassis made in America without any 3D models together. I'll go one step further. As it turns out, in a night parade, there are a lot of wires. And now we had a nice place to put all these wires, because our truss suddenly gave us this conduit throughout all the floats, kind of like a spinal structure or like a vein. And now we're able to run these thousands and thousands of wires through this perfectly uniform piece of very, very nicely located truss. So in a way, it was that crazy, unstoppable passion of our Chinese vendors which led to one of the biggest breakthroughs on the parade. I mean, that and the time constraints.
Yeah, speed can be a very important factor in business decisions, especially when the world around you is running fast. Time is gold. So our task is to finish this project in 6 months. And it is really an accelerated schedule and nearly a mission impossible. I still remember in the kickoff meeting of production, we have all the designers, supervisors, and major vendors there. When I announced that, okay, we should aim to get it open to public in 6 months. Everybody was shocked, and nobody agreed to that schedule. Even some people from our Chimelong Group were not convinced that we can do that. And I remember a voice from one of our key designers. It says, absolutely impossible. And this is how we started. At the end, we nearly hit the target. We had some delay, but we were almost there. And due to some business consideration, the Chimelong's senior management decided to further delay it. So it was finally open to public in 10 months. But through the entire time, the project was on an incredibly crazy schedule.
But you know, it was precisely that crazy schedule that led to our next biggest breakthrough. Night parades. Lots of lights. See this wave over here? The way we'd normally do it is we'd figure out exactly what color we want the wave and exactly what we want the wave to do. So what that requires, designers to do is to sit down and say, okay, here's the piece of scenic, it's X large, and here's the specific string of lights we're going to want. It's this color, it's this specification, it's going to do this. Had we done a night parade that way, it would probably be opening sometime next week. Instead,
well, we took the advantages of the leaps of Chinese production capability, and we decided to use a couple of standard RGB LED lights that can be easily attached to the floats.
Zip ties. If anyone's curious as to how you attach lights to floats, lots of zip ties.
And we immediately ordered a large quantity of those zip ties and LED lights, and so that the team can start installation right away.
And that's what gave us the capability to do this parade-wide event. This accelerated schedule meant we needed to standardize all the RGB units. But by standardizing all the RGB units, these were no longer just lit-up cars. Suddenly, they were like fully pixel-mapped 3D sculptures moving down the road, and we can control every point of light on them. That's how you turn every single light on every single float and every single costume white at the exact same time. It was exactly that crazy schedule that led to this breakthrough. What's that? Oh, sorry, more zip ties. Nope, that was me, sorry, bad. Anyways, we ended up having to customize lighting consoles that were larger than anything before. So right now, 2 of the world's largest lighting consoles are sitting in Zhuhai. Then, I had to stick 2 of those consoles together just to get that programmed. That's the Night Jungle float. So yeah, we ended up with something like 800 universes of DMX. But it was awesome.
Wait, I know this is starting to sound very expensive. From an investor's point of view, we also need to care about investment, also creatives, and time. For example, the polar light float. The initial design for the polar light float was to use some complex transparent LED screen to produce a very beautiful aura effect. But it is super expensive. So for us to make a very hard decision, we do a mock-up of the polar light effect with different techniques. In the end, we found a laser solution that is cheaper and more beautiful.
And all this is only possible because Miziker and Chimelong worked hand in hand every day to make it happen.
Well, it might sound a bit crazy that Chimelong, as an investor who, with no previous experience on night parade, dares to join such professional discussion and sometimes provide suggestions. It is because we not only position ourselves as the owner who only pays for it, but more importantly, also a designer and also project manager.
Speaking of design, I remember this is way back now, early meetings in Guangzhou, we brought one of our float designers, an artist, to a meeting with, I think the first meeting with Mr. Su. And Ryan was there, the float designer was there, Mr. Su was there. The float designer starts sketching away, putting some ideas down, and Mr. Su is the chairman of Chimelong. He's sitting there watching, watching for a moment. Next thing you know, he's on his feet, he's pointing and gesturing and patting Ryan on the back, and he's starting to sketch. Yeah. That's the kind of guy Mr. Su is.
Yeah, this is very Mr. Su. And it was during these meetings that Mr. Su came up with ideas for a circus float and also promoting our own IP. We want to go beyond the ocean theme of our Ocean Kingdom because we already have an ocean-themed day parade. And Miziker was able to help to bring this idea to life. So we both become stronger in the parade industry. We made a lot of mistakes, we have a lot of difficulties, but finally we make it. And Sean, you have more to talk about the creative process, right?
Yes, the creative process. So I'm standing at my desk, It's like, I don't know, 8 or 9 p.m. at night at this point, working on a final email. And Ron, there you are. Ron Miziker walks into the office, and he says, hey, how's it going with your speech? Of course, I haven't finished it at all, so I'm going, yeah. And I said, I'm trying to basically, Ron, he's an amazing person, you have an amazing legacy, but if he doesn't get out of my office right now so I can finish this email, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be waking up to some kind of glitter-based revolution in Southeast Asia. And that's not exactly what I need right now. So, while I'm typing away at 1,000 other things, he Mizikers me. He reminds me of what the point of this whole speech is. What makes this parade so special? I'm gonna put these little pointers down for a second, a lot of pointers. So at first I'm thinking about, it's the technology. It's the scale. I mean, we put a volcano on a car and we drove that down the street and we shot fire out of it. It was the incredibly crazy schedule. But at the end of the day, it wasn't any of those things. I mean, it was all of them, but it was also none of them. The thing that makes Journey of Light special is the same thing that made the Main Street Electrical Parade special. It's people willing to go, hey, why don't we try this? Because almost everyone else you meet, they're saying, well, this is how we did it before. Or, well, this is how I do it, and this is how it's done. Or they'll say things like, no, it's absolutely impossible. So I think what you really need sometimes is people willing to fail, willing to experiment and make mistakes, because that's what it takes. So what does the night parade have in common with the Main Street Electrical Parade that makes it so special? Well, it's people willing to say, why don't we try that? Oh, and zip ties. We upgraded everything else on the floats, but we're still using zip ties.
And I feel so lucky that everybody in this project was so committed. Although at the very beginning, nobody believes that we can do that. But once the project gets started, everybody was so dedicated and so supportive to catch that unusually short schedule. And that designer who said absolutely not possible at the very beginning became one of the most dedicated people in our team. And we have many people like this. If you ask our owner, Mr. Su, why he wants to take so many challenges to be the first one, from the time that I spent with him, I would tell you, creativity is all that he's chasing, and he always wants to light the way for Chinese people along his dream-building journey.
That's it for us, guys.
Wow. Wow. Well done. And we have time for questions. Actually, we have 6 minutes for questions, so please raise your hand or stand up. We're a quiet group after lunch, aren't we? Well, with that, while we're waiting for questions, do we have a question? Ah, there we go.
Wow. Hello, my name is Austin. I'm working with the Nassau company. And as you had mentioned before, as innovative and how it brings the fantastic feeling of us for the Main Street Electrical Parade or the Paint the Night Parade, I'm curious how, with this project and your time constraint, what were your goals in making it not similar to either of those parades? How is this innovative for you guys?
Well, there were a couple things that we did along the way. Sean mentioned there was a real moment in time where we said, let's just make everything out of color-changing RGB lights. And that was a decision that we made because we knew they would be, per light was much more expensive, and the programming required, as Sean said, to basically create a pixel map sculpture was going to take a much larger programming effort than we had planned on before that. But it did allow us the freedom and creativity to just order all the lights, like go for it, start making these sculptures, and then simultaneously start planning how we were going to programming it. And what we did was we actually created a 90-second piece of music for each of the 8 units. Because the way we like to work is that the parades are really moving shows, and each scene, each of the units is a scene in the story. And so each of the scenes had its own 90-second musical track, and that became sort of the script that we would program to the choreography, the light changes, the special effects. And so in the course of 90 seconds, everything was happening for each one of these different scenes that was moving down the street. And so that was a key decision. Another thing that we kept pushing for was interactivity with the performers and things that are handed out. We also developed an app that changes lights on your phone along with the lights of the parade float that had only one real flaw, which was that as soon as the parade comes toward you, everyone turns off the app and takes out their camera because everyone is taking pictures of the parade as it's going by. So there were a couple of choices that we made along the way to really just focus on making it as fun as possible and as new as possible, and you know, working with a lighting designer, we had a moment where we said, can we just really make everything out of programmable lights? And it was something that hadn't been done, and we said, let's do it.
Yeah, and I think, like Ryan said, it gave us the ability to turn it from a parade, you know, cars and people dancing down the street, into 8 self-contained shows. Each one of these things, it's like its own little spectacular on wheels, and I think that's pretty special.
Great. Another question? Yes, we have someone right there. Thank you. Please, your name and company.
Bharat Gupta from In-Depth Engineering, new member of TEA.
Hey.
I'm a mechanical person, so with all behind this dazzling shows, how did you handle the mechanical systems for the safety behind it?
The safety mechanisms.
The safety in terms of the mechanical structure.
Right. So a lot of this things about innovation and new this and new that. Safety guidelines remain pretty much the same across the board. We try not to break any of the rules there. We use a lot of the standards set by those come before us and those who will probably come after. Because no matter how creative or how amazing you want to make something, you know, if you want to put a giant fireball on top of a mountain, you should probably do it very, very, very carefully.
I mean, they're extremely heavy floats coming very close to audience members, and you know, moving down throughout the park, and we have performers on trapeze and performers on surfboards, as you can see in that picture. So safety, of course, was a huge concern for both the performers, the drivers, and as well as the park guests. So we couldn't, as Sean said, we couldn't take any chances there, and we had the same standards that are applied to any park anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and the operation team in our park is working extremely well. They actually, a lot of the safety concerns are raised by our operation team, and they told us that, okay, I want to add something here to make sure the performer there is safe. So I think it's a very good cooperation of the design team and also the park.
Thank you. Quick question in the back.
Got 40 seconds, says that clock.
Hi, I'm Valerie Laterra-Spletzer from DreamWorks Feature Animation. I have a question and an idea. See if I can get them both in. For the
27 seconds.
For the minute and a half, how far does the unit travel during that distance? How many feet?
Oh my God, probably 100 meters.
Yeah.
Okay, because what I was thinking is, since it's sort of telling a story over a minute and a half, what if you were to map out on the ground, like where that float would start at the 0 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, and 1 minute and a half? This way, that would encourage people to see the parade multiple times, but to sit in different places, so they could experience that focus point of the story in front of them at a different point of the parade.
I know Ryan and his team, thank you for that suggestion. But a huge round of applause for the team from Chimelong. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.